Ready?
Yep.
All right, let's see if I can do this. Of all the hours and hours of video that we shot last year, there's one 20-second clip that just grinds my gears, makes me crazy.
Is your dad a fast driver out there on the racetrack?
Is my dad a fast driver out there on the racetrack? He went and got a new engine thinking this was going to make all the difference in the world. And guess what? He's still in the back of the pack whenever he goes and races. So, to answer your question, no.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Begin Again. It's our first video of 2023. And yeah, that video of Derek and Kristen does not make me happy. In fact, it's pretty irritating. The problem is that it hits a little bit too close to the truth. We put in a new engine last year, the rock shifter engine. We went up with a neutral setup, got driver coaching, did all these things, all the right things. And yes, I became more consistent, but did I get really any much faster over what I had with my Honda? Not so much. I got thinking about it and I realized, hey, you know what? Maybe there's some other issue there. Maybe I've just got, something fundamentally wrong with my chassis. And so what happened was a few months ago, I hopped into one of the karts that Jack McLemore has, and I went out and I drove it for a few laps. Now, if you know me and Jack is about 6 inches shorter than I am, and so I had to stuff myself into that go-kart of his. But I went out and immediately I felt like the front end was working. I mean, it was like it was very positive. The steering was much lighter, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Karts are not that much different. And I got thinking about it, and I realized I was sitting further forward in Jack's kart than I do in mine. And so we took out a measuring tape, started measuring things, and we made a big decision. We moved the seat on my kart forward 20 millimeters. We're gonna try it out today and see what we get. Now, there's a caveat to that. In case you can't tell, it's February and it's really chilly. It's just above 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which my math is probably about 3 or 4 degrees centigrade. So it's gonna be really tough getting the tires to work well. Things are gonna be going very differently in terms of setup direction and all that kind of stuff. But let's see what happens. I'm personally very optimistic. Now there's one other thing. This is a race day. It's not a practice day, so I'm coming in here trying all this stuff out cold, which is pretty much normal for me. But we've got a stacked field today. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of the talent that's here today. We've got Jordan Musser, Chris Jennings, Juan David Gomez, Justin Herbisek, and Jack McLemore. I mean, those 5 guys right there are fast. And I mean, let's face it, Jordan Musser has pretty much owned master shifter karts for, I don't know, 10 years, something like that. That guy's really good. So I'm not expecting a whole lot. Today's a practice day, but you know what? If I can sort of keep those guys in sight, it's a win. Let's see what we get. Here we go. One of the really big things that we've gone and figured out is that after riding Jack's kart just a little bit, I needed to move the seat forward. And so if you look down here, you can see that we've moved the seat forward quite a bit. That's where it used to be. Now it's forward. So we are about 20 millimeters closer to the front of the kart. Because of that, the front end now is much more positive and the steering effort is a whole lot lighter. But as Jack has pointed out to me, when you're running a whole bunch of Ackerman and you have a positive front end, it makes the front end very nervous, and he was absolutely right. So we took all the Ackerman out of the front of the kart. Now, if you've seen some of my videos before, you know that I've done a video about Ackerman. I'll put the link into the description below. Here's the thing. I think that the real issue that I've been fighting all along is the fact that I've not been picking up the inside of my rear tire when I turn into the corner. If it does lift, it just doesn't lift long enough, and that's causing a push going into the corners, and that's slowing me down. And I don't think there's anything you can do about it. It was just a miss on the chassis. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it. The game plan here is that we're hoping that we'll be able to see on video the kart lifting its inside tire when we turn in, because we got to have that for the kart to handle the way it's supposed to handle. Okay, now we've done a couple other things as well. Because it's cold, I've gone almost as wide as you can go at the front on these spacers. I've got one more spacer that I can go. Jack's thinking that we should go even wider. I'm going to try it out like this, and then we'll see what happens. Yeah, or we could go and add caster. I'm going to go with the easy way, which is instead of going and changing out caster pills, I'm going to go wider at the front. That's the first thing I'm going to try. The other thing I did was I went and I narrowed up the front about a quarter, I mean the rear tires about a quarter of an inch on each side. And so that's a big change right there, but that's to get more bite coming out of the corners. So anyway, we'll see what happens. And based on what I saw with Jack, it looks like everybody has a situation where they were dialing back their brake bias. The track was so cold, had not enough grip, so they were probably having problems with their front tires under the brakes, would be my guess. But anyway, that's what it looked like. Other than that, we're running it completely stock like we normally run it. The ride heights are right in the middle. Yeah, I mean, we should be okay. Now there's one other thing that we're trying, and that is that this is my front roll bar, and I've pulled it out. You can see it's a steel component, and this is what I've run all along. But with the cold temperatures and all that, I might have a front end that's too stiff. So I've put in a plastic front anti-roll bar that's going to give me more flex and hopefully more bite on the front end. So we'll see if that works, see if I can feel any kind of difference at all. Some people run it when the track is completely dry with a whole bunch of grip. So, you know, we may be leaving that one in. We'll just have to see. All right, here we go.
Man, I tell you what, that track was so cold it was like driving on ball bearings. I couldn't believe I did that, and of course I did it right in front of Paul so he could catch it for all of you to look at it. But with a few laps under my belt, we started getting some heat in the tires. It was never perfect, but it started to feel more and more normal.
Okay, so that was my first and only session. As predicted, the track was slippery. Spun it coming out of the pits, for crying out loud. Got down to turn 3 and just kind of touched the gas, and the cart just went whoop. Totally lost it. Of course, it wasn't driving well. Still feeling a little bit rusty, and the cart, I don't know, it took like 6 or 7 laps before the tires came in. So we're going to make some changes this time to combat the low grip on the track. I'm going to go a little wider on the front. Actually, I'm going to go max wide on the front just to get a little bit more turn-in ability, even though the cart feels pretty good on the way it turns in. We got to dial some brake bias out of the back, towards the back, because no matter how warm the tires got, and warm is a figure of speech around this track today because of the temperatures, I mean, literally I'd step on the brakes and the front tires would lock and just hop over the surface. So it's not really slowing me down very much. So yeah, we need to make some changes. You know, but that said, moving the seat forward definitely made the steering light, and I realized with the low grip track that's going to make the steering light as well, but the effort to go and drive and all that, way lower. I was actually very pleased with the fact that, you know, between moving the seat forward and the work that I've been doing in the gym, it wasn't too bad. So we'll see. It would be better if we knew what the cart was doing with a gripped up track, but it's the same for everybody today, so let's see what happens. So one of the things I've learned about these jet nuts that we use to fasten the both the front and the rear tires, you really want to snug them down with by hand. So all I do is I just kind of run it up a little bit, but I don't tighten them. I do it with my own ratchet, because you can over tighten them and then you start stripping threads and all that. It's just, you know, it's one of those, ask me how I know. It's because we ran into some real problems where it would cost us a race meeting because we started breaking studs because we've been using this. These things are great for like removing them. I don't recommend it when you go and you tighten everything back down. I didn't think I was going to get that lucky. But this thing, and we've talked about this before, this little device is great. You slip this ring in, this goes over the stub axle, you slide it in like so, And then you take this special tool and you just tap it in and you're done. It's beautiful.
I learned a really tough lesson in this race, and that is you have got to scrub the tires in on the warm-up lap before they drop the green flag, or you're going to be toast. All the front runners, they know how to do that. It was 5 laps before my tires started coming in, and of course once they did, the kart felt pretty decent. You can see here in some of the video right here, the kart's looking pretty decent through the corners, but it was a case of too little too late. By the time the kart started feeling good for me and I could start turning laps that were more what I could do, forget it. The rest of the field was just gone. Really discouraging, but I learned a tough lesson.
Okay, so what a day. Never got any kind of sunshine on the track. We got sleeted on, busted a chain, launched my chain guard somewhere. We found it. Had to do quick repairs on that because it literally shattered the chain guard, and so we had to cobble up a new chain guard. It's been quite a day, and so I think if I was going to go and sum it all up, we had a lot of adversity, but we came through it okay. They dropped the flag, and Mustard and Chris Jennings, I mean, they just blew past me like I was standing still, and I thought, well, gosh, I made a pretty good start. Apparently not. Anyway, yeah, once the tires got in and all that, kart felt pretty decent. I started driving a little bit more decent. The track, of course, is really, really slow, so lap times I don't think are any kind of real comparison, but hey, I'm feeling good about it. So I think as we get into warmer weather and the track grips up, I think I'm going to be in a whole lot better shape. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed yet to the Begin Again channel, please hit the subscribe button. It really helps us out, and we'll see you soon. And just kind of touched the gas and the kart just went whoop, whoop, whoop.
Whoops!